She's not the bride I ordered. She's too fat.
Name's on the paper, sir. She's here. That's delivery.
I didn't ask for her.
She's not the bride I ordered. She's too fat. Jonas Merrick says it flat, arms crossed against the noon glare. Dust still floats from the wagon that brought her. The woman stands beside it, face flushed, dressed tight at the seams, one worn canvas bag in her hand. The driver clears his throat. Name's on the paper, sir. Jonas doesn't move. I don't care what's on the paper. Sheriff Wade folds the contract. Says right here, one bride delivered before the end of the month. She's here. That's delivery. Jonas frowns. I didn't ask for her. The woman's voice is small but steady. I didn't ask for you either. That earns a snort from the sheriff. Jonas turns toward her for the first time. She's soft-faced, heavy-set, hands rough from work, eyes sharp enough to hold their ground. What's your name? He asks. Martha Doyle. You can still leave. The wagon's gone. Then walk. Walk where? No answer. Wind moves through the grass, rattling the pump handle. Martha draws a breath. I don't want your money. I just need work. I've got debt to pay. Jonas studies her a moment longer. What can you do? Cook, clean, carry water, chop wood if it's dry. You eat much? Normal, she says, not blinking. For a heartbeat, his mouth almost twitches, almost a smile. He points toward the smaller building by the barn. Old tack room. There's a cot. You sleep there? She nods once. All right. You start before daylight. No stealing, no talking when I'm working. You finish the debt, you leave. I can live with that. Good. He turns toward the barn. Conversation over. Martha stands alone in the yard, dust baking her boots. She looks at the lean-to, then at the man already walking away. Her throat tightens, but her voice stays even. So I'm staying, she whispers. From across the yard, Jonas calls back without turning. For now. She hauls water until her arms shake, wipes the long kitchen table, scrubs the stove till it shines. By sundown, the house smells like beans and smoke instead of dust. She's bone-tired but won't sit. Stopping feels too much like giving up. When Jonas steps into the doorway, he fills it. He looks at the clean table, the red raw hands, the pot simmering on the stove. He grunts, approval or habit. She can't tell. You start before dawn, he says. Martha nods. Yes, sir. He turns to leave. She stops him. Mr. Merrick. He waits. I don't complain. I just work. He studies her for a long beat, eyes unreadable. Finally, we'll see. Then he's gone, boots echoing on the porch. Martha stands in the quiet kitchen. Her feet ache, her palms burn, but the stove is steady and the pot still bubbles. Outside, Red Willow Creek glows orange in the last light. She looks toward the lean-to that will be her room, brushes dirt from her skirt, and mutters, half to herself, Day one. In the main house, Jonas sits in a dark chair, arms folded, thinking about the words she'd thrown back at him. Only when somebody calls me fat before hello. He exhales through his nose, a dry sound that might be a laugh. Stubborn woman, he says. And outside, under a wide Nebraska sky, Martha Doyle keeps the fire alive, because work is the only thing that's ever kept her standing. Morning comes cold and pale. Martha is already in the yard, sleeves rolled, apron tied tight. She pumps water until the handle squeaks, then carries 2 buckets inside. The house smells like old wood and horse dust. She sets to work, no questions, no rest. Jonas steps in from the barn, boots heavy with mud. He watches her over his coffee. She doesn't notice him at first. When she does, she nods once and keeps working. You cook? He asks. I try. What's that supposed to mean? Means it won't kill you, but it won't win prizes either. He grunts. Fair enough. She puts a plate in front of him, fried eggs, bread, beans left from last night. He eats in silence. The only sound is the ticking of the stove and the scrape of his fork. When he's done, he stands, rinses the plate himself, and says, "You missed a spot sweeping by the door." Then he walks out. Martha looks at the floor. Sure enough, one curl of hay sits against the wall. She sweeps it out, jaw set. The days stretch long. She scrubs, hauls, cooks, mends. By noon her back burns. By dusk her hands throb. But every morning she starts again. No one tells her she's doing fine. No one thanks her. That's all right. She's had worse. The ranch hands show up on the third day, 3 men, loud and dusty from the range. They stop short when they see her in the yard. New housekeeper? One says. Or is that the famous bride Mr. Merrick sent for? The others laugh. Martha feels her face go hot but says nothing. Jonas steps out of the barn just then. His voice cuts through the noise. You got something to say, Clem? Clem hesitates. Just talking, boss. Then talk somewhere else. The laughter dies. The men mumble apologies and lead their horses away. When they're gone, Jonas doesn't look at Martha. You should ignore them, he says. I did, she answers. He nods once and heads back inside. That evening, when she brings his supper, she finds a small parcel on the table, an old pair of leather work gloves, stitched and worn soft. There's no note. She slips them on. They're too big, but warm. The next morning, she wears them while chopping kindling. Jonas notices but says nothing. Later, while she hangs laundry in the yard, wind whipping the sheets, he stops nearby with a bucket of feed. You ever worked a ranch before? No, she says. Only kitchens. You learn quick. That mean I'm doing all right? He looks at her for a moment. The chickens haven't died yet. She smiles. High praise. For the first time, he almost smiles back. Almost. As the sun drops, the air smells of grass and smoke. Martha lights the lantern in the kitchen, pours coffee into 2 mugs. When Jonas comes in, she slides one across the table. I didn't ask for coffee, he says. I know. You looked like you needed it. He drinks. Doesn't thank her, but drinks every drop. Silence sits between them, not sharp, not cold, just quiet. When he leaves, she wipes the table clean, hands sore, but heart steady. Outside, the prairie wind hums through the fence wires. For the first time since arriving, she doesn't feel like running. In the barn, Jonas checks the horses, then stops by the door. Through the window, he sees the kitchen light glowing soft. He mutters to himself, half annoyed, half curious. She's still here. He closes the door, and the night folds around Red Willow Ranch like a blanket, warm in places, cold in others, but holding 2 souls that, for now, have stopped drifting. The storm rolls in without warning, black clouds, wind like fists. Jonas is in the yard when it hits, trying to tie down the corral gate before the rain tears it loose. The first crack of thunder shakes the ground. From the kitchen window, Martha sees him fighting the wind. She grabs a coat and runs. Rain slaps her face, soaks her hair flat, turns the dirt to glue. Get back inside. Jonas yells over the roar. You need a hand. She shouts back, pulling at the rope. I said inside. I don't listen well. Together they drag the gate shut and drop the bar across it. Both of them are shaking, breathless, drenched. Jonas wipes water from his eyes, muttering, You don't know when to quit, do you? Not when someone else is drowning. He stares at her for a moment, then turns away. You'll catch cold. Not the first thing I've caught, she says, following him to the porch. Inside, they strip off wet coats. Martha builds a fire while Jonas hangs his hat by the door. Rain pounds the roof. The small house feels tighter, warmer. For a long time, neither speaks. Then Jonas says quietly, "You work harder than most men I've hired." "I've had to," she says. He nods, watching the fire. "You married before?" Her hands freeze around the kettle. "Once." He waits. "He was a gambler. Said he'd make us rich. Needed a loan, but his name was already bad in town. So I signed for him. He took the money and ran." Her voice doesn't shake, but her eyes stay on the fire. "I paid every dime I could, but it wasn't enough. The man who loaned it said I could work the rest off or rot in a cell." Jonas looks down at his boots. "So that's how you ended up here." "That's how." She glances at him. "And you? You act like someone nailed your heart shut." He doesn't answer right away. Wind rattles the shutters. "Had a wife once," he says finally. "She didn't like the dirt, the work, or me. Said she married a dreamer and ended up with a mule. Left one morning. Never came back." Martha nods slowly. "That explains the manners." He huffs through his nose, maybe a laugh, maybe not. "And you still came out here anyway." "I didn't have much choice." He studies her again. "You regret it yet? Ask me when it stops raining." Lightning flashes through the window. For a heartbeat, their faces are white in the glare, two people built from the same kind of damage. The storm rages for another hour. They sit close to the fire, silent, listening to the roof groan. When the wind finally dies, Jonas stands, walks to the door, and checks the yard. "Barn's still standing," he says. "Guess we did something right." He looks back at her, softer now. "You did more than right." Martha blinks, not sure she heard him. "What?" "Nothing," he says quickly, pulling the door closed. She smiles, tired but lighter. "Good night, Mr. Merrick." He pauses in the doorway, rain still dripping from his hat brim. "Jonas," he says. "You can just call me Jonas." She nods. "All right." "Good night, Jonas." He steps out into the wet dark, and for the first time since she arrived, she feels something in this house that isn't debt or duty. It's small, like a spark behind the stove, but it's there. Spring comes soft that year. Grass thickens on the ridge, calves find their legs, and the air smells of rain and iron. Martha works from dawn to dark, quieter now but lighter somehow. Jonas says less, but when he does, his voice doesn't cut as sharp. By April, folks in McCook stop calling her the fat bride and start calling her the woman who runs the Merrick place. Then one morning, a wagon pulls into the yard, polished wood, two fine horses, a man in a coat too clean for Nebraska dust. He steps down first, then helps a young woman after him. She's small, slim, and dresses like she never lifted anything heavier than a teacup. Blonde hair pinned neat, gloves white, smile careful. Martha watches from the porch, hands still damp from washing. Jonas comes out of the barn wiping grease from his palms. He stops cold. "Mr. Merrick," the man says with a merchant's practiced warmth. "Silas Crane. You may remember the correspondence last winter. My daughter, Evelyn." Evelyn smiles politely, blue eyes quick. "We meet at last, Mr. Merrick. I'm sorry about the mix-up. I was meant to come months ago." Jonas's jaw tightens. "You didn't." "No," she admits. Circumstances changed. She glances toward Martha, curious, assessing. Martha nods once, then turns back inside. Her hands shake as she hangs the towel. She can hear their voices through the open door, calm, civil, sharp beneath the surface. Silas Crane clears his throat, My daughter made a mistake. Trusted the wrong man. He's gone now, but we wish to make things right. The agreement still stands. Evelyn's ready to honor it. And I'll see a handsome dowry paid for your patience and, shall we say, discretion. Jonas looks at the ground. You mean hush money? Call it what you like. It's an honest offer. Evelyn says softly, I only wish to put the past behind me. We could start again. Jonas doesn't answer right away. He glances toward the porch, where the curtain moves, Martha listening but pretending not to. He sighs. I'll think on it. When the wagon finally rolls back down the lane, the yard feels different, the air heavier. That night, Jonas eats in silence. Martha ladles stew into his bowl, waits for him to say something. He doesn't. So that's her, she says finally. He nods once. That's her. She's pretty. Guess so. And thin. He looks up. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, Martha says. Just facts. She finishes her meal, stands, and starts clearing the table. Jonas watches her, trying to find the right words, but the right words aren't there. Later, while he fixes the latch on the barn door, he sees her small shape moving toward the road, a bundle under her arm. Martha! He calls. She stops. I'm not running, she says, voice tight. Just leaving before I'm told to. She's what you wanted. What you paid for. Jonas steps closer, rain beginning to fall again, soft and cold. I never paid for you. You didn't have to. The whole town thinks I was bought cheap. He swallows hard. You think I'd trade a woman who works beside me for one who ran the first time things got hard? Martha doesn't answer. She just stands there, eyes shiny in the half-light. Jonas takes a slow breath. Stay. I'll sort this out. You don't owe me that. Maybe not, he says, but I owe you the truth. Lightning flashes somewhere to the east. Martha lowers her bundle. I don't trust Easy, he says quietly. But if you leave, I'll have to start learning all over again. She looks at him for a long moment, then nods once and turns back toward the house. Jonas watches her go, the lantern glow swallowing her shape, and he mutters to the rain, I'll think on it, my foot. He already knows. Morning breaks clear after a night of rain. The yard smells of wet earth and horses. Martha stands at the pump, sleeves rolled, hair damp, moving slower than usual. She doesn't look toward the house. Jonas does the same, both pretending nothing's changed. By noon, a letter arrives from town. The boy who brings it says, From Mr. Crane. Jonas takes it, nods, doesn't open it until the boy rides off. Inside, neat handwriting, all business. We await your answer. A marriage tomorrow noon would end gossip for all concerned. Jonas folds the paper once, twice, sets it on the table. Martha watches from the doorway, but says nothing. I'll handle it, he says. She nods. Course you will. That night, he can't sleep. The rain's gone, but the sound of it still lives in his head. He sits by the window until dawn, thinking about a wagon full of fine clothes and hollow words, and a woman in the kitchen who never stops working no matter what he says to her. When the first light hits the yard, he makes his choice. By midday, the town square hums with gossip. Silas Crane stands in front of the church steps, coat pressed, eyes sharp. Beside him, Evelyn, pale, lovely, chin high like she's bracing against shame. People whisper, so he's taking her back. Then Jonas rides in. Dust on his hat, coat unbuttoned, face unreadable. He ties off his horse, climbs the steps. Mr. Merrick, Silas says, relief in his voice. You came. I did, Jonas says. To set things straight. Evelyn smiles faintly, trying to meet his eyes. We can begin again, she says. Jonas shakes his head. You never began in the first place. A murmur ripples through the crowd. Silas stiffens. Be careful what you say, sir. Jonas faces them both. You sent letters, took my money, then left before the wagon even rolled. That was your choice. And this, he gestures to the people watching, this is mine. He turns to where Martha stands near the hitching post, coat too big, hands clasped, ready to bolt. This woman, Jonas says, voice carrying now, came here with nothing but debt and bad luck. She worked till her hands bled. She kept my house standing when I was too damn stubborn to see it was falling apart. She didn't owe me love or loyalty, but she gave both without asking. Silas Crane starts to speak, but Jonas doesn't let him. I don't want your dowry, Mr. Crane. I don't want your bargain. And I won't fix your family's mistake with my name. He steps down off the church steps, crosses to Martha. The crowd parts around him. When he stops in front of her, his hat is still in his hand. Martha Doyle, he says, voice lower now. I didn't order you. I didn't expect you. But you showed up anyway. You made this place feel alive again. And if you'll stay, well, this time, it's me asking. Martha stares at him, tears mixing with the dust on her cheeks. You don't have to do this here, she whispers. I want to, he says. I want everyone to know I'm not ashamed of the woman who saved my life. For a moment, the square is silent. Even the wind seems to hold its breath. Then Martha steps forward. All right, she says softly. But you'd better eat proper if I'm staying. Jonas's mouth twitches into something like a smile. Deal. The crowd bursts into noise, whispers, laughter, clapping hands. Silas Crane leads his daughter away, face like stone. Jonas turns to Martha, eyes steady. Let's go home. When they ride back through the open fields, the sky over Red Willow stretches wide and gold. The house waits on the hill, smoke curling from the chimney. Jonas looks at her once more and says quietly, Welcome home, Mrs. Merrick. Martha answers with a nod, voice thick but sure. Took you long enough. And for the first time in years, Jonas Merrick laughs, loud, free, and certain. The kind of sound that makes a place feel like it can start over.